For everyone who is arriving on time, I'll repeat what I shared on YouTube just as an announcement. So, our agenda for today, we're going to first talk about, let me bring this in front of me here so I'm not looking off to the side, although I probably will be looking off to the side a little bit. A false perception we often have about our reality and a corrected perspective. Exploring one really powerful way to choose and shift to a desired or preferred reality. I'm going to talk about several options. I believe I have 10 that can be beneficial to making the shift in the way that I will describe. Then I'm going to share 3 incredible stories of healing using an often overlooked approach that I have never shared with you all before, but I lived it, so I'm here to share it. I will then share my own story of how I shifted from a broken bone, in pain, on crutches, unable to walk, to walking pain-free one day after I made the shift. I'll share with you what happened next and another simple approach to shifting realities, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. And this is the first time I actually did a PowerPoint because I felt like a visual representation of what I'm sharing with you today in terms of realities would be way more helpful than just me talking. So I'll probably be floating back and forth between sharing the screen and coming back and sharing the screen and coming back, so that I can cover everything that I want to cover with you today. I did mention that I was going to perhaps do a second event with more. I did pack a lot in here. I will have to check and see if there's more, after this event is over, see if there's something more on my heart that I want to share that I didn't get to share today. But for now, we'll focus on our chosen agenda for now. So let's begin. So let's start with how we often perceive our reality to be. So typically when we think about our lives, like our physical challenges, financial challenges, relational challenges, we think of it as, okay, this is happening here, and then something has to happen next, and then I'll be in the state or the preferred reality that I want to be in, right? And we do that with all aspects of our lives. I'm in this relationship, it's a hot mess. We probably have to do a few things here in order to correct things, and then we'll get to this place where we're in a harmonious relationship. With our physical bodies. This thing happened to me physically, then now I'm in this, these things are going to have to happen. And then at some point in time, usually determined by my doctor, I will get into this state of, okay, I'm done with this physical ailment. So we think in a very linear space, and we often refer to parallel realities as well, because some of us in the space, I don't know if anyone here is not clear on parallel realities, but that's a living, breathing, normal way of thinking for me. I don't believe that all of you, even in this event, every single person is experiencing a different version of this event, even though you're hearing my voice. If I pause now and I click on each of you and I say, can you give me a summary of what I shared? Everyone will give something slightly different. Why? You're bringing your perceptions, your filters, what you want to hear, what you hope to hear. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on with all of you that are present here today. So no one is having the same reality. And we'll get into more of that in a second. But I just wanted to start out with the typical misperception. This is happening. I'll have to do this to correct it. And usually the thing in the middle here, doing a set of things, right? Often to feel deserving. It's usually I have to do some external things outside of me. And once I get those things done, then I'll experience this desired state. So for example, I'm experiencing physical challenges. So therefore I have to go to the doctor, I have to get a diagnosis, I have to get a prescription, I have to get blah, blah, blah. And then based on what they tell me, now I'm gonna be well, okay? And same for financial. Don't have enough money in my bank account right now. Clearly, I have to do a set of things to make something happen. And then once I do that set of things, then I'll have enough money, right? Relational challenges. I'm in this relationship. We are always arguing, blah, blah, blah. I think we probably need to talk or reassess whether we want to be in a relationship or something. And then we'll decide where we want to be in the end. That's the typical way of thinking when we're thinking about our lives. But that's not how this 3D reality works. So let's go to how it really is. And this is why I wanted to show a picture. This is how it is, right? So in this reality, this is what's really going on. You're sitting in the middle of a whole bunch of realities. I call it the buffet of all possibilities, the buffet of all realities, the buffet of everything. It's all here and you're in the middle. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. It's you and you alone, with full access to a buffet of realities. Full access, okay? And every single one of those realities is here now in this present moment. It's not off in the future. It's not waiting for a set of actions to be taken. It is here now in this present moment. So for example, I'm in the middle here with all of these possibilities around me that I can access. So I can go to physical challenges. I can be in a certain way that creates physical challenges. I can be in a certain way that creates health and vitality. I could be in a certain way that creates financial challenges. I could be in a certain way that creates financial abundance. But all of these, like the same time that I'm experiencing financial challenges or physical challenges, is the reality of the completion of that. It's done. It's 100% done, right? And, ooh, am I blocking any part of that? I hope not. Because sometimes my picture's on screen. I think it's usually in the upper right. So all of these things are here right now, right now. That, if I could give you, let me come back here. If I could give you anything, if I could gift anyone anything right now, it would be the acceptance that all of these realities are here right now. Like, not only recognizing that that's true, but fully accepting that that's true. And because it's here right now, you have access to any of those realities right now. Now, in this 3D realm, there's always a little bit of time, which is to our benefit, because if everything we thought about manifested, we'd be in a horror show, because we have judgments about people, we snappy about people sometimes, we love sometimes, we love the person in this moment and next moment we're hating them, depending on what they do. So thankfully, we're in a reality where there's some bit of delay between shifting from one reality to another. But it doesn't have to occur in the way that we misperceived in that first photo that I showed, right? We're in the middle. I am sitting in the middle of all possibility. And I'm the only one that can decide which reality I'm going to choose next. Now, often it's not that clean cut and dry, because of a bunch of things I'm going to share with you in a second. But sometimes we're reaching for that reality and we come back. It's all here, right? The financial abundance is here, but we're sitting in a state that puts us congruent with materializing financial lack, because that's our state, right? And we'll talk about states in a second. It's going to be very, very clear. So I just want to emphasize everything, all realities, all possibilities is already done, and it's here now. It's already done, and it's here now. It's already done, and it's here now. Okay? So let's go back. Oh, okay. So let's take a snapshot of a what that might look like in a relationship, right? So here is, this one. So here is a relationship with someone named Dave, right? The way that we think is like me and Dave are not getting along, or Dave is in the office and he's just a jerk, or Dave is my boss and he's really just a jerk. Well, not really. You're in the middle in a vibrational state, and there's multiple versions of Dave available. Okay, I know this is gonna be mind-bending for those of you who don't think about this often. This is normal and natural for me, so that's just normal. So you walk into the office today from where you are vibrationally, you can access a judgmental version of Dave, a loving version of Dave, a supportive version of Dave, a kind version of Dave, an unkind version of Dave. All of those versions of Dave are here in this moment right now. Same for you. There's multiple, we are multi-dimensional beings. There is multiple versions of you, okay? And I get to experience the version of you that's congruent with what I've got going on. Now, some of you are gonna argue with me, no, Allison, Dave's a pain in the ass and the whole office knows that Dave's a pain in the ass. Well, it just means that everybody in the office is carrying a vibration that brings that side of Dave out. Dave is probably the gentlest person with his niece or nephew or daughter, right? That's quite possible. We know, we've seen that before. Or somebody who is really mean and nasty at work, but when they get home, they're a completely different person. Or they're mean and nasty at home because they're so stressed out with the family and what's going on in the family dynamic. And then at work, they're like, don't deal with the family. I'm a completely different person here at work. You know, I was like that when I was in my first marriage. I was a hot, depressive mess in my first marriage, but put me in the office, I'm good. I'm like functioning like nobody's business. The minute I turn the key and I'm headed home, depression came over me, right? Different sides of me, different versions of me. People at the office did not get the depressed Allison. Allison's husband got the depressed Allison, okay? So there's a different version of anyone in your reality, and we'll talk more about why are we accessing the version of them that we're accessing, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now we're gonna dive into, because we talked about being in the middle of all of these realities, right? Stop share for a second. We talk about being in the middle of all of these realities, but now that that's clear, hopefully you accept it. You don't have to. Everyone gets to choose from this event what resonates and what does not. I'm just sharing my experience and where I'm at in my awareness of reality today. So let's just say you're in the middle and all of these realities exist now. Right now, absolute, no question about it. All of these realities exist right now. So the next obvious question is, but how do I align with that reality? And we've talked about this before, but I'm gonna show it in a slightly different way, hopefully to make it a whole lot clearer. And I'm gonna add even more clarification as we go through this. So let's go there now. So let's take a look at this. And this is just, there are many different ways for us to move from one reality to another. And what I'm gonna focus on here today is just one way that's incredibly powerful. And if we can only embrace that, life gets easier and easier in terms of shifting from one reality to another. It doesn't mean it's contrast free. We signed up for contrast on planet Earth, okay? I'm talking to a blank screen, hang on. We signed up for contrast on Earth. One of the things in my time away that I was deeply contemplating is we can be in this endless search for a life with no contrast. If I can only get spiritual enough, if I could get to a spiritual state where my vibe is really high, then I'll be okay. There's not going to be any contrast, or there'll be very little contrast, and life will be darn near perfect. Well, we signed up for a life experience that includes contrast. So it's a fallacy to be seeking some kind of experience where there's no contrast at all, right? What changes as we expand and become more and more aware is that the contrast tends to be shorter lived and experienced in a less intense way because we know who we are. In a far less intense way because we know who we are. So let's let go of this illusion that we can get to some perfect spiritual place where no contrast exists. That will not happen on planet Earth. It's just that we move through contrast, at least that's what I've personally experienced, is moving through contrast in a much more seamless way, much more effortless way, and in a way that doesn't pull me in as intensely. And even if it becomes intense in any way, shape, or form, there's this part of me that knows I'll bounce out of this. I'll bounce back. I'll bounce back. It's fine. I'll bounce back, right? Okay, so let's go back to the slide on choosing your state. So let's take the first one. When you're choosing your vibrational state, you're either choosing a state where the thing I want is not done, or you're choosing a state where the thing I want is already done. And I don't mean that the thing you want is done in your physical manifested reality. I mean, you are embodying a frequency with conviction that what you desire is already done. And if I go back to that picture, talking to a blank screen again, if I go back to that picture where I'm sitting in the middle and all of these realities exist, now we're going to take a look at how we're picking the realities off the buffet, how we're picking. It's either I don't think that reality is done, or I think that reality is done. When we believe that it is done, it is done, it is done, we are convicted. We are so certain, regardless of what we see in our reality, it's done. In my head, in my conviction, I don't care what I see. I know what I desire is already done, right? So that state of I know that desire is already done is what picks it off the buffet and materializes it in our physical reality. I keep wanting to go to this slide and coming back. So if you're thinking and talking to others about what is lacking, you are sitting in the middle of the buffet and picking lack, hands down. If you are thinking and talking to others about what is lacking, you're in the middle and you're reaching to the buffet of lack, that option, and grabbing it and putting it on your plate. When you are living in the state that it's already done, there's no lack to talk about. I already believe it's done. If I believe it's done, there's no lack to talk about. It doesn't even occur to me that I should be talking about the lack, because in my mind, in my soul, in my spirit, in my vibration, in my knowing, it's already done. If you're complaining about what is lacking, you're picking more of what's lacking. If you know that it's already done, there's a natural going to gratitude because it's done. That gratitude naturally arises because you are convinced it is done. And we'll talk about how to become more convinced as well, but I'll go through these first. If you're doubting what is possible, you're picking the lack off the buffet. In the reality, in the conviction that it's already done, doubt does not arise because why? It's already done. If something is already done, there's no room for doubt. If you truly believe it's already done, there's no room for doubt. if you're picking the lack, you're focusing on what the lack feels like. This is what it feels like to be poor. Share this over here. This is what it feels like to be poor. This is what it feels like to be ailing. You're talking to people about how much of a struggle it is to be ailing. This is what the lack feels like. I hurt myself and this is what it feels like. And let me tell you how hard it is. It takes so long, right? It's like this person or this lover is just never coming. I've been wanting this lover. You're constantly talking about what the lack feels like. You're picking lack off the buffet and causing it to materialize in your 3D reality. When you're in the state of, I know this is done, then you're focused on what done feels like. Let's just say you have a physical ailment. When you're focused on what done feels like, and I'll share a little bit about my story too as we get to that part, but when you're focused on what done feels like, you're thinking to yourself, here's what I'm going to be doing. Here's what I am doing now that this is done. Here's what I'm doing now that this is done. Here's what I'm doing now that this is done. You're like, it's almost like you're instantly inspired to make a list. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. Ooh, wait. This is where I'm going to live, and oh, this is what I want my master bedroom to look like. You know what I would love? I would love something with, maybe I could add a skylight. Let's put a skylight in. You're so in the done state that you can only think about what life is like now that it's done. There's a fire within you that just drives you naturally to create a list of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And you're like in that done state. And when you're in that done state, you're taking that done state and causing it to materialize in your reality. Back to the list. This is something that, I hesitate to say, but if you're still asking questions about what's lacking, you're still picking lack off the buffet. If you're asking questions about what's lacking, you're picking lack off the buffet. Now, it's okay to ask questions. If you're asking questions about what's lacking, then that's what you're picking off the buffet. When you're in that state where it is so done, I'm so grateful that this is done, it's done. Then you're asking those questions about, what am I doing now that it's done? Where am I going now that it's done? Who am I talking to now that it's done? Where am I spending my time now that it's done? That's where you naturally go when you're in that state of doneness. When you're in the state of pulling the lack off the buffet and into your materialized 3D reality, you're focused on everything that's lacking about you now, the current you, right? What's in your bank account that's not enough, what's in your body that's not good enough, what's in your mind that's not good enough, what's in your relationship that's not good enough. You're focused on the current reality that's lack filled. But when you're in that it is done state, you're focused on the new you. You're so focused on the new you that what's happening now feels like that is so freaking irrelevant because I know it's done. And I know that it's done because all realities exist in this present moment. And because I know that I'm the only one choosing my reality. So I am convinced if I'm the only one choosing my reality and I'm choosing it with my state and my state feels like this is done, then I absolutely believe that it is done. And now I'm focused on the state where it is done. What am I doing? Where am I going? It's like, who am I talking to? What are the conversations like now that it's done, right? Back to the list. When you're focused in the lack place and pulling lack into your reality and materializing it, you're saying nothing is changing. When you feel like it is done, that can't come up because in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, in your body, it's already done. Everything has already changed. everything has already changed. In your reality, everything is already changed. So it's not possible to even utter the words, nothing is changing, because in your reality, everything has already changed. You're seeing it, viscerally experiencing it, making lists about it. You're so in the realm of it is done that nothing is changing. I tried everything, that's not coming up because you are done. You know it's done. You know it's already done. That's the state that causes that done version to be materialized in your 3D reality, right? Okay, back to the slide. I'll be going back and forth, y'all. I don't like talking to the slide. Okay, this is another good one, right? It's already been so long. How long will it take? When you're in the done state, when you know in your heart, in your soul, in your body, it's so done for me. I don't care what I'm looking at in my bank account, it's done. I don't care what's happening in my body, it's done. I don't care what it looks like in this relationship, it's done. The thing that I desire is already done. When that's true, time is irrelevant. How does time come into something that's already done? But when we're over here going, I've been doing it for so long, I've been doing the process for 6 months, how long is it gonna take? That's just pulling that doubt reality, right? Pulling that, because you're in the middle, this is the buffet. The version of you where it's lacking is congruent with the vibration of doubt. So when you go into doubt and you bring time into it, you're over here pulling the lack version in and bringing it into your 3D reality. It's materializing based on what's going on within you. And if what's going on within you is, it's been so long, how long is it gonna take? Well, you're saying it's not here with that perception. And if you're saying it's not here, then you're saying, I am choosing not here and bringing it into materialize in my reality, right? Time is irrelevant when you know it's done. You're so living in the state that it's done that time is 100% irrelevant. And when we're working with vibrational realities, when we're working with realities that have not materialized yet in the 3D realm, time is not a player. So and this is why when, say you have a financial thing, right? You're trying to manifest $2,000 by by a month from now, because you really need it a month from now. Now you brought time in. Now you're worried about time. As the clock ticks, as the days go by, you're worried about time. You're worried, is it going to manifest? Is it going to manifest? Is it going to manifest? That worry, that concern is now your vibrational state. And if that's your vibrational state and you're the only one pulling stuff off the buffet, now in that state, you're pulling the lack of that thing off the buffet. Right? And if you're pulling the lack of that thing off the buffet, that's all that can materialize in your physical reality, right? Hope that makes sense. When it's done, you're not thinking about time because you're in the vibration of celebrating its doneness. So you're not thinking about time. You just know that it's done, right? Okay. This is self-evident. Worry in the state that's pulling the lack into your vibrational reality, and peace in the state that's pulling the done, the desired doneness, or the thing that's desired that's already done is moving into materialization and becoming materialized in your 3D reality when you're in a state of peace. The last two. What do I need to do to change my situation is what we typically ask when we're reaching for the lack version of the buffet and causing it to materialize in our reality. Because you're thinking there's something outside of you that needs to be done. There's nothing outside of you that needs to be done. Everything is done. Come back here. Everything is done inside of you that causes either abundance or lack to materialize. My state is what's choosing the items off the buffet. So if my state says, what do I need to do to change my situation? I'm externally focused. I'm like, what actions do I need to take? I'm not even thinking about my vibrational state. So because I'm thinking about external things and I'm feeling like my situation is not changing, I'm pulling the not changing version of that desired reality, bringing it to materialize in my 3D reality. When it's done, when you're in the state, when your vibrational state says it is already done, what the concept in your mind is already changed. You're not wondering what to do. You're like, no, honey, that's done. That's already changed. That's done. I'm not thinking about what to do. What to do? Why would I be thinking about what to do when it's already done? It's done. It's done, right? What actions do I need to take to get what I want? That statement is a vibrational state of being that represents a vibrational state of being. What actions do I need to take to get what I want? If you're asking how to get what you want, you don't believe that it's done in here in this buffet of realities. Everything in the buffet of realities is here now, right? When you're saying, what do I need to do? What actions do I need to take to get what I want? Your vibrational state is, I don't have it yet. And if your vibrational state is, I don't have it yet, and you're asking that question, you're reaching into the buffet and pulling, I don't have it yet, and causing it to materialize in your reality, because that's the state that you're in. And you can only manifest what state you're in. Life is just a reflection of what state you're in, okay? The opposite of that, so on the lack side is, what actions do I need to take to get what I want? On the it is done side, it's like, who am I as the person? Y'all get this. Who am I as the person who already has it? Who am I as the person that already has it? Because it's already done. If it's already done, I already have it. So who am I as the person that already has it? And that imagery is like your state of being. It's where you go to most of the day. It's how you see things most of. Who am I as the person that has it? Who am I as the person that has it, right? Okay, one more. Well, one more set. I don't even know what I have here. Let's see. Okay, a few more on this choosing your reality with your state of either not done or done. Okay, so I tried to describe this when I was attempting to describe the shift that I was experiencing in June when I disappeared for a few months. In that state of something lacking and not done, you're giving interest to your limiting thoughts. In the state that it's done, you're giving interest to the done state and your infinite state, right? So what this means is, and this is something that profoundly shifted for me, a thought of doubt will come up in your mind, right? You already know you are not your thoughts. You already know this is not a thought that I want to entertain. So you can decide in that moment, I'm not interested in that thought. You can literally decide in that moment, I'm not interested in that thought. Here's the analogy that I was giving when I was attempting to kind of describe what I was experiencing back in June. If I said to all of you right now, you've got to subscribe to Anna White on YouTube, the first thing you would say is, who's Anna White? And then I would say, oh, she's an amazing woodworker. She builds the most amazing things. She's so good. You'll be like, well, why do you want me to subscribe to her? I'm not interested in woodworking. That's my passion, right? That's one of my passions, is woodworking. I'm excited about Anna White. I love watching her videos. You'd be like, I am not interested, so I am not subscribing. That's how you can treat your thoughts. Thought in your mind pop. You already know you're not your thoughts. You already know your mind is a thought machine. It's just popping up thoughts left, right? It's just popping up thoughts, right? You already know that that's how the mind works. It's just like a bubble machine, right? The mind pops up a thought. You can decide in that moment, I am not interested in that thought. Therefore, I am not subscribing. when we get to the place where we feel like our mind is in control and we're like, we can't control our thoughts, it is because we give interest to the thoughts that are flowing. If you give interest to the thoughts that are flowing, that are lack and limiting thoughts, you're feeding it. If you feed it your interest, it grows. You feed it your interest again, it grows. You feed it your interest again, it grows. And then it gets to the point where you're like, I can't stop thinking about this. Why can't I stop my mind? Because when it first said, hey, you want to think about this? You went, yeah, sure. Yeah, she did do me wrong, you know, or this bad thing really did happen to me. And, you know, the mindset, feel sorry for yourself. And you're like, okay, I should. I deserve to feel sorry for myself, right? And you go with that thought. And as you go with that thought, boom, your whole energy is shifting because you said yes and subscribed to that thought. But if you withdraw your interest, so one of the things that I do now is a thought will come up, right? And I'll go, oh, no, I am not interested in that thought. And then I'd go, okay, if I'm not interested in that thought, what thought am I interested in? And I would go to the done state. And when I go to the done state, I start having those. So let's just say the mind says, can you really trust that that's going to manifest? You go, I am not interested in that thought. Well, if I'm not interested in that thought, what thought am I interested in? Oh, this is what's going to look like when it manifests. This is how it is now. It's here now in this reality. I know I'm the only person creating in my reality. Therefore, this is what it looks like. Therefore, these are the aspects that you like, pivot. Totally pivot just by asking yourself, if I don't choose that thought to focus on in this present moment, what thought am I going to choose to focus on, right? That's one of the ways in which I do it anyway. Focused on my circumstances and my desires. And I know y'all are going, wait, why is my desires over on this side? Let's talk about that, right? If you're focused on well, we already know if you're focused on your circumstances that you don't prefer, clearly you're sitting in the middle, pulling what I don't prefer off the buffet and causing it to materialize in my physical reality, right? When you're in the done state, what I had here is you're focused from the identity where it's already done. And by the way, I'm going to go through a lot here. I will most likely turn my slides into a PDF and make it available to you all. So don't worry about trying to jot notes and all of that. I will turn it into a PDF and make it available so you can go on my website and access it. Okay, so you're focused from the identity where it's already done. What does that look like? And you hear me talk about that in the stories I'm going to share later on. But when you're focused from, it's like you place yourself in the middle of the movie where it is done. A lot of times when people are visualizing and having a desire, etc., they're looking outside of themselves at a movie somewhere far in the distance of something that they want, or they're daydreaming about what they want. Daydreaming is good. It certainly brings you closer to the state. But the difference is you plant yourself in a scene of the movie where it's done, and you think from that state, and you ponder from that state, and you're in it. You're in that done reality, and you're seeing yourself in the movie. You're in it. You're not watching it. You're in it, and you're seeing life from that state. It's a visceral experience. You'll hear my story in a second. It's a visceral experience. You're seeing your life from that state where it's already done. So that's the difference. And that's the reason I put the desires on the screen, because it may seem, well, why are you putting the desires on the lack side of things where it's not done? Because typically when we have a desire, it's instantly not done. That's why we call it a desire. I have this desire, right? We can switch to, I have this reality that I'm living from. If you can say that, mean it, know it, feel it, experience it. Not, I have a desire for something I don't have yet. Oh, I have a reality that I'm living from right now. And I'm so smack dab in the middle of the scene of that reality that's already done. That this is what I'm feeling, and here are the plans that I have, and here's what I'm going to do, and here's what I'm going to buy, and here's who I'm talking. It's a whole different experience when you're thinking and experiencing from the done state of that reality. Hope that makes sense. Very simple. Done state not yet accepted, done state fully accepted. Not much to say on that, right? There is a difference where, because some of you listening to me right now, you're like, well, yeah, I get that. I get that there's a done reality. I get that. I get that there's a done reality. But you haven't actually accepted it as true for you. There's a big difference between knowing that there's a done reality, knowing that it's available to you, and accepting that it's available to you. When you come into full acceptance that this is available to you, you're like, game over. Life will never be the same for me again. Because you're thinking from that state and from that knowing. You've accepted it. It's not like, I watched Allison do this thing where she was talking about the done state, and I understand it, I get it, but you haven't accepted it for you. You've got to accept it for you, for it to be real for you. Right? I can't create in your reality. Only you. You're the only one in the middle of those realities. You're the only one sitting in the middle of all those possibilities. And you bring it into your physical reality by the state that you're in. Okay. And I'm almost done with this particular thing. All right. So what else I have here? Oh, this is big. Come back. My circumstances is a fixed reality outside of me and needs to be changed externally. My reality is malleable because it's my inner state manifested outward. My state equals my reality. This is another thing that you'd have to accept, right? You can think about, how do I get from point A to point B? And the only thing you think about is the actions in the middle, because this is fixed and you can't fix it, you can't alter it until you take all these set of actions, etc. But when you're in the done state and it's already done, you've accepted the knowing that everything you're experiencing is malleable. Everything in this reality is not fixed. It can be shifted and changed based on what's going on within me, because I'm in the middle of all of those realities, right? I'm the only one that can access those realities and pull it into materialization in my 3D world. And I do so by what I choose to focus upon. And if I know that it's malleable, if I know it's changeable based on how I am, then I'm not worried, because I'm just going to change me and everything is going to materialize in a way that matches me. And you know that that's true. And when you know that that's true, you no longer look at your circumstances as, oh, this is hard to move through. This is a tough one to move through. This is really difficult. This is really challenging. You're like, no, this is malleable. So you change your verbiage. Not this is fixed. This is hard. Now I know we still have challenges. We do. Okay, I'm about to share one of those with you today. We have our challenges, but when you have a deep inner knowing that your 3D world on planet Earth is 100% malleable based on your state, oh, you feel like, well, fuck everything. I'm just going to change my state and move into a different reality because I believe I'm it. I'm the only one that can change and alter my reality and bring something different into manifestation, into materialization in this 3D realm from the vibrational realm, right? Back to the list. Well, we talked about that already. My reality is hard to change given what I'm facing. You're looking at your circumstances and you're like, this is so hard. I don't know. It's going to take such a long time for this to change. On the other side is my reality changes when I focus from the done state. And we talked about that before, so I'm not going to harp on it. You're focusing from a scene inside of your done state. And it's so visceral that it begins to shift your reality. Oh, this is big. we've talked about this before, and I know I've done other sessions on this before. Strong identity, I'm just a body. If you think everything that's happening in my reality is limited by who I am physically from this body, then that's the limits within which you're operating. And you cannot access any other reality if that's your predominant belief. But when you know that you are source, you're like, well, source doesn't have a problem with. A beautiful thing I heard somebody say, which I'll pass along to you here. I was watching somebody's video and she said, I can't remember her name now, but she said, instead of saying I in the description of anything happening in your life, say source. And see what that sounds like, because you're source. When you're describing a challenge, and just instead of saying, and I just didn't have enough money, you go, and source just didn't have enough. Wait, what? No, source can't not have. Wait, let me alter that, right? You can't say it. You can't even finish the sentence because it sounds ridiculous. How could source? It's like, oh, I have this ailment in my. Source has this ailment, and wait, no, source doesn't have an ailment. Source is source. The body has an ailment. I am source. So if the body has an ailment and I am source, how do I affect what's happening in the body as source? It's a whole different thing when you change the I and you say source instead, because source is who you are, right? Okay. Almost done, I think. Yeah, it's only one more. And we talked about this before, so I'm not going to harp on it much. True identity is not yet recognized and accepted. So what I mean by that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more too, is we can hear, I'm spirit in a body. I'm a spirit that has a body, right? That's probably more true. I'm a spirit that has a body. And everybody that's here probably can say, yeah, okay, I get that. You recognize that that's true, yet may not have fully accepted that that's true for you. Because if you accept that's true for you, then you're accepting that you are one with that which created the worlds that are hanging in orbit right now. Like, that's who you believe you are. You're one with source. And when you know you're one with source, when you fully accept it, because it's one thing to recognize that truth, it's another thing to accept that that's true of you. When you accept that that's true of you, you feel your power. You feel your power. Okay. Let's go to, let me see what's next here. Can't even remember what I did. Okay, so this is just a conclusion slide, which I'll show briefly. So essentially, my state causes a reality to materialize. So whatever my state is, it's bringing some kind of reality into my 3D realm. It's materializing in my 3D realm, right? You have access to everything. See the arrows? You've got access to all of this. All of this is yours, right? How do I access it? By my state, which then begs the question, how do I change my state so it materializes what I want? And we'll talk about that in a second, but before we get there, what I wanted to share was, since we're talking about done, I remembered last night this video. Do I have it? Hang on. This video that I heard from Abraham Hicks years ago, and I knew it was on YouTube, so I went searching for it. And I want to share it with you because it's a really great place to land right now.
Say with us, what I want is done on a vibrational level. What I want is done on a vibrational level. What I want is done on a vibrational level. I ask for it and it is done. It's done, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done. My lover is there. My money is there. My good feeling body is there. My recovery has taken place. My abundance is there. My clarity is there. My stability is there. My vitality is there. My flexibility is there. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's there. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. What I want is done on a vibrational level. What I want is done on a vibrational level. I ask for it and it is done. It's done, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done. The only reason that I want to talk about it is not to make it happen, because it's done. It's done, it's done, it's done. I don't have to make anything happen. It's done, it's done, it's done. I don't have to make it happen. It's done, it's done, it's done. I talk about it because I like talking about it. I talk about it because it feels good to talk about it. I talk about it because talking about it is natural to me. I talk about what's done, it's done, it's done. I talk about what's done, it's done. I talk about what's done, it's done. I talk about what's done because talking about what's done causes me to feel good as I'm talking about what's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. I like to think about it. I like to talk about it. I like to bask in it. I like to concentrate. Jerry and Esther, if you walked around with them, the majority of people on the planet would throw up as they listen to them. They'll get hold of something that is pleasing to them and they'll just repeat it back and forth to each other endlessly all day, all week, all month, until they find some other thing that most people would say, enough already, give it a rest. But they just milk it and milk it and milk it and milk it. Something funny will happen and they will just bring it up to each other over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because any excuse that you can use to hold yourself in that place of feeling good lets you then be the fuller receiver of what's done, what's done, what's done. But don't do any of these processes to make something happen. It's done, it's done, it's done. Don't do them to make them happen. Don't do them even to get it. Don't do it even to get there. It's done, 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 it's done. You are in your physicalness, you are so insignificant in relationship to what's done. It's done. Do you realize the world you are creating? Do you see your vibrational escrow? We do. It's done and it's magnificent and it's done and it's magnificent. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. Now talk about it because it feels good to talk about it, because it doesn't need more work. You don't need the clarity in order to make it happen. It's done. You don't need the conversation. You don't need the processes to make it happen. It's done. The only reason that you want to talk about anything is because it feels good to talk about it. Tell the stories that feel good to talk about it. Talk about it because it feels good. Think about it because it feels good. But don't do it because you need to do it, because you don't need to do it because it's done. But if you think you need to do it, now you're holding yourself apart from it. You've got to accept that it's done before you start closing the gap.
Middle of drinking. Wasn't that good? It's done, it's done, it's done. Don't talk about it because it's done. It's done, it's done, it's done. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, that was just ringing in my ears the whole time. It's done, it's done, it's done. Don't talk about it because it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done. It's like over and over and over. But that was a great emphasis. Now, where we're going to go next is, and I like what she said here, given where we're going to go next, is that, so we're going to go to 10 ways to amp up your conviction. But to reiterate what Abraham Hicks just said, you're not doing this to make something happen because it's done, it's done, it's done, right? You just want to convince yourself that it's done, right? That's really why I'm sharing these different ways, to get to the place where you truly are convinced that it is done, so that your state of conviction that it is done causes the done state of your desired reality to materialize in your 3D reality.
Thank you everyone for joining us for part 1 of this event. Part 2 will be uploaded shortly. As always, take what resonates, discard what does not. And if you have any questions, you can always send them to me at AlisonPhillips.tv/ask. And I will see you in part 2. Bye.